Jeez, that last one. That was heavy. Maybe something lighter, less harsh, and incredibly mediocre will cheer me up. Here is the sequel to Ant-Man. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Released in June 2018, Ant-Man and the Wasp takes place after Civil War but before Avengers Infinity War. Scott Lang, played once again by Paul Rudd, is now under house arrest after Captain America didn't break him out in the last one. Wait, what? What happened here? But he's happy playing with his daughter Cassie during his house arrest, but for some reason he starts seeing weird memories of Hope's mother Janet Van Dyne, played by sexy granny Michelle Pfeiffer. I'd break her fucking hip. Somehow going into the quantum realm gives you the power to possess people. I don't know. Lang tells Hope and Hank about what's happened. Very soon he's plunged into a plot in order to help them get Janet out of the quantum realm, while also avoiding dodgy dealers led by Sonny Burt, played by Walton, way too talented for this movie, Goggins, and the sexy but deadly ghost Ever Star, played by local Hull lass Hannah John Kamen. Okay, she's from Anlaby, just outside Hull, but it fucking counts. Eva Star's dying after a science disaster caused explosion thingy happened to her and uses a suit to keep her body intact, and is desperately searching for a way to heal herself. Can our lucky heroes get Janet out before the plot gets more convoluted? Ant-Man and the Wasp is an inferior sequel that reduces its title character to a guest star in his own movie and wastes a very talented cast of actors, including Walton Goggins. Seriously, how the fuck do you waste a talented, charismatic Walton Goggins and turn him into a nothing villain? Fuck you, Ant-Man and Wasp. The plot is all over the place, there's way too many characters, Paul Rudd is charming as usual, but the lackluster script gives him nothing to work with, except for one scene. Evangeline is boring as Hope. Michael Douglas, Michael Pena, Ty, or T.I., Damon Dalsmalchian are just there. And Ghost isn't given enough consistency in the way she's written. Hannah John Kamen does her best with what she's given, but it sadly doesn't work. One minute she's acting all villainous and evil to suggest she's psychotic, and the next she's all vulnerable, suggesting we should feel sorry for her. And if it stuck to the more vulnerable aspect, I think she could have been a well-rounded villain, but all we got is she's dying and wants to live. Yeah, she had a tragic past where she was used as an assassin, and I'm sorry, but that's not enough to make me sympathise with her. She's done some pretty bad things and hasn't tried to amend for it. She gets let off way too easy without any attempt of redemption. I'm sorry, Hannah, I'm happy that you, someone from Hull, got the chance to star in a movie that was part of a popular franchise, and you really deserve better. But not only that, the comedy is painful, especially the fucking truth serum gag that keeps popping up. There are some decent moments. The shrinking stuff does lead to some pretty fun creative action scenes. Paul Rudd is very charming, especially in the scene where Janet takes over his man to talk to her daughter after years of not speaking to her, and it's actually both funny and touching. The car chase is an absolute blast, and the post-credit scene is one hell of a way to lead to the upcoming movie's plot point.
Hope? Janet! Guys. Okay, seriously, don't joke around. Bring me up, let's go. Guys!
In fact, the more I think about it, this film was just a way to set up the middle part of Endgame, wasn't it? Overall, it's an incoherent mess that, while not the worst, lacks the quantum energy of the first. Sorry, I couldn't think of a wittier one-liner there. And that was Ant-Man and the Wasp. Next up, Captain Marvel.
May God have mercy on us all.
These films were made for. I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
So finally, those sexists at Marvel checked their privilege and gave us a female lead. Yet forgets to write anything compelling to make us care about this character. Now the world is a better place for it.
wrong.
And that strong, brave and stunning plank of wood, I mean woman, is none other than Captain Marvel. Released in March 2019, Captain Marvel tells the tale of amnesiac Kree soldier Carol Danvers, played by Brie I don't need to try anymore Larson. One day she's sent on a mission led by Yon Rog, played by Jude I'm way too talented for this movie lore, to find out what has happened to an undercover Kree operative. That is until she gets captured, used as a way to have information extracted from her in order to further the Skrulls' cause, while also triggering lost memories. She escapes, leading her to chase down main Skrull Talos, played by Ben I'm also way too talented for this movie Mendelsohn, to 1990s Earth, where she partners up with a young Nick Fury, played by Sam L. Motherfucking Jackson. And during her time tracking down Talos, she begins to discover more about herself, except what her personality is, as well as discovering more about the people she's been working with. Will she be able to save the day from sexism? Captain Marvel is the white noise of the entire Infinity Saga. The story is boring, the characters are flat, most of the actors, except Lashana Lynch and Brie Larson, are way too talented to be in this movie. Yes, I know that sounds harsh, and yes, Brie Larson has shown to be a really good actress in the past, but here, you wouldn't think that. This was a very talented young woman who started to believe her own hype way too much since winning that Oscar. And it's a shame, as this could easily have been a big win for her, but every hack with creative control over this was so preoccupied in using this film to spread their idiot feminist agenda, they forgot to give Captain Marvel a personality, a moral backbone, and more importantly, a character arc.
It's so dumb.
Having other characters tell us who this character is isn't what makes a character. They keep saying she's got anger issues and needs to control her emotions, yet she barely shows any. In fact, the only time she shows any emotion is when she's chilled out, exchanging one-liners while hanging out with Nick Fury, and it really doesn't help. How about have her start off irrational, accidentally causing more grief to the people around her, leading her to reflect on what she did in order to seek redemption and help others? That would have been such a good character arc for her. But no, we get this.
Turn off the light show and prove to me you can beat me with that.
I have nothing to prove to you.
Because that's what's important, showing the bad man who's boss. And we get some really cringe flashbacks where every guy's giving her shit because she's a woman, until she gets up in slow motion with dramatic music that's all empowering. God, I hate this fucking movie. Samuel L. Jackson is alright as a younger Nick Fury, and he does have some chemistry with Brie Larson, but remember that line from Captain America the Winter Soldier?
Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye.
Well, this is how he lost it.
Those bad guys still in there somewhere. Oh, motherfucking!
A cat scratch. A fucking scratch. One of the coolest characters in the MCU. And instead of giving him a dignified, badass reason for his missing eye, like being injured in a fight, risking his life for someone he cared about, it turned out to be a fucking scratch. I fucking hate this movie. Jude Law tries his best as twist villain Yon Rog, and while he does pretty well in the scenes as a mentor, As soon as he's revealed to be the villain, he becomes flat, and sorry Duke, you deserved better. Lashanya Lynch is okay but flat, and Annette Being does her best with the short time she has on screen. But the movie is only truly good when Ben Mendelsohn shows up as Talos. Every scene he's in, he chews up the scenery, and you can tell he's giving it his all. God, they should have done a movie about him, as he is the only character who's sympathetic. Thank you, Ben, for making this movie tolerable. The action is also dull, the CGI is fucking atrocious. Oh, and Ronan is back.
Oh my god, who the hell cares?
So overall, it's a boring, man-numbing, feminist peddling load of crap with nothing resembling anything Marvel us to come back to. So that was Captain Marvel. Thank fuck I got through that. Next up, Avengers Endgame.
Well, we are now nearing the end of the Infinity Saga. And to be honest, if it had just ended with Infinity War, I would be fine, because sometimes the heroes don't always win. Life isn't fair. But still, the conclusion to Infinity War was already on the cards. But could it match the success of Infinity War?
Oh. Let's waste no time as we jump into Avengers Endgame.
Released in April
2019,
Avengers Endgame begins where Infinity War left off. The Avengers have lost. Thanos, played by Josh Brolin, has won. Hawkeye, played by Jeremy Renner, has lost his family, and the stranded and close to death Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., is saved and brought back to Earth by Captain Marvel, played by Brie Larson. Later they discover where Thanos is hiding, so they disturb his alone time and demand he brings everyone back. Thanos says no, gives his backsies, as he tells them he destroyed the Infinity Stones as a precautionary measure. Remember when the Infinity Stones were just a few gems with dangerous powers and had significance before Loki decided to turn them into fucking paperweights that were not in short supply?
Fuck.
So Thor chops his head off and everybody goes home defeated. That's nice. 5 years later, the universe is trying to move on. Captain America is running a support group, helping the survivors through their loss, even though he's having a hard time struggling to move on himself. Captain Marvel is out monitoring the damage Thanos has done in other worlds. Stark and Pepper Potts are married with a kid. Hawkeye has gone full vigilante after losing his family to the snap. And everyone else is just doing what they have to do. Oh yeah, Bruce Banner has merged with the Hulk, so now he's Hulk Banner. And Thor is a fat alcoholic slob.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd, manages to escape the quantum realm. After discovering what's happened, he reunites with Cassie and tracks down Captain America and Black Widow. He tells them there may be a way to get everybody back, because apparently time acts weird in the quantum realm, and there's a lot of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey sort of stuff. He explains it may be possible to go back into different points in the previous movies / time and get the Infinity Stones before Thanos gets his hands on them, travel back to the present, and they could bring everybody back. So they get everyone back and montage their way through the time travelling practice runs, getting ready to kick time's ass.
Gonna need a montage. Girl, I want a montage.
Unfortunately, one of their escapades attracts the attention of past Thanos, who discovers what is happening, and boy is he angry. Oh yeah, and he captures present Nebula and uses past Nebula as a decoy to infiltrate them. Can the Avengers succeed where they failed last time, and can Thor make it long enough in a film without being reduced to a fat, pathetic shadow of his former self? The film starts off pretty strong, seeing the Avengers trying to move on 5 years after that devastating defeat. Seeing Tony Stark finally settle down is nice, and seeing Captain America still going out of his way to give people hope is one of the most thought-provoking moments in this part of the movie. Though we do get a cringe cameo from one of the Russo brothers playing a gay guy. Talk about sucking your own dick there. But man, as much as I like the idea of Bruce Banner finally embracing the Hulk and not seeing him as a curse, the execution is kinda weak. He's way too goofy and loses that edge that made him so interesting. Hulk was so much more cooler when you were never sure whether he could be a friend or foe. Rocket Raccoon is funny, but he doesn't have that same chemistry with the Avengers as he did with the Guardians. Brie Larson is a plank of wood, and there doesn't seem to be any point in her character being there. And yes, Fat Thor is a total middle finger to the character, And I get it. He lost his home, his family, the woman he loved. He had his shot at stopping Thanos, and he blew it. And it's weighing heavily on him. But to reduce him to a blubbering, bloated, booze-soaked mess in order to make him look weak was so fucking spiteful. At least it came across spiteful. He still could have had him guilt-ridden over his failure, but still be strong. Have him protect the surviving Asgardians in New Asgard, but have him reluctant to take the mission as his people are all that he has left. Not because he wants to spend his whole life fucking boozing, eating snacks and playing Fortnite. And have him rejoin the Avengers after one of the Asgardians inspires him to take a chance, saying something like, I don't know, you're already doing a great job, you mustn't blame yourself, but I see the guilt that weighs on you, and right now you've been given another chance to relieve yourself of that burden. Then cut to the next scene where the Avengers are about to time travel, with Thor showing up ready to help them, while the kick-ass Avengers theme kicks in, or something. I don't fucking know. Probably wouldn't improve the film, but at least it's something. Fucking call me, Marvel. I'll save that sinking ship you call a franchise, and I'll do it while boozed out of my tits. The time travel in the second quarter really sags the movie down, and if maybe they tightened up a few scenes or wrote it in a way that didn't bloat the movie, I think it could have worked. Not only that, you got this convoluted mess of an explanation of how time travel works where it seems inconsistent and kinda contradicts itself, especially when Captain America uses the time machine for the last time. Most the one-liners don't work, and there's an obvious segue that connects this to that shit show Loki. But there are still a couple of positives. Seeing Tony Stark talk to a young version of his father is kinda touching, and the scene with Hawkeye and Black Widow, yeah, that was actually done well. It's the scene where they make it to the planet where the Soul Stone is located before Thanos made it there. And once again, a sacrifice has to be made, except both our heroes try to sacrifice themselves while saving the other. It's a great contrast that visually shows how different the Avengers are to Thanos. And it's Black Widow that gets the upper hand. People bitched it wasn't Hawkeye, and I'm glad it wasn't. Christ, it makes sense for Black Widow to die. She's a character haunted by the terrible things she did in the past, and has struggled for too many years to find redemption. She has no family, she's unable to have kids of her own, so sacrificing herself to save the entire universe is the ultimate redemption. Her character arc is complete. She was moulded into a monster, but dies a hero. It's a noble end to a character's journey. And that is the end of the first part of my review of Avengers Endgame. Join me tomorrow for part 2. Same Avengers time, I think. Same Avengers channel. The third quarter is where the movie gets back on track. Our heroes succeed in undoing Thanos' mess, only for past Thanos to show up and spoil their fun, in order to retrieve the Infinity Gauntlet. He reveals that he will not only wipe out half the universe this time, but to wipe out everything, and start anew. He even says he will take pleasure in what he's doing. Wait, what? No, that was not his character. Thanos set out to do what he was doing because he felt he had to. He believed it had to be done, and he never came across proud of his actions. If it was an alternate Thanos from another dimension, okay, but this is past Thanos from a diverted timeline. It makes no sense to turn his character into a downright psychopath. Seriously, how can you forget your own character? Not too long after the previous movie.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
But still, we do get a pretty cool fight scene with Thor, Iron Man and Captain America that leads us to a moment that was set up earlier in the series. Remember this scene in Age of Ultron? Well, it finally pays off. But it's what happens next is where it really gets good. Everyone else is beaten. Cap is left standing, and even with Thanos' army invading, Cap does not back down. Christ, even when he's weary, beaten, and completely outnumbered, he never stops being that skinny kid we saw in the first Captain America movie. And that's why I love you, Cap, you beautiful bastard.
You sound like a gay.
While it's looking like the world is doomed, we hear a familiar voice, uttering familiar words. And oh boy, does it get epic!
On your left.
Is that everyone? What, you wanted more?
Avengers!
Assemble.
And the battle is fucking amazing. Yeah, we get a few dumb moments like this. But talk about 11 years of build-up for a satisfying epic payoff. We see callbacks.
It's not a hug. I'm just grabbing the toe for you. All right, kid. Good luck out there.
Oh, this is nice.
And fan service. And after minutes and minutes of pure epicness, it ends with Tony Stark sacrificing his own life, using the Infinity Stones to finally destroy Thanos and his army.
And I am Iron Man.
And Christ, I just love the look on Thanos' face as he has no choice but to accept his defeat before crumbling into dust.
Well, that'll stop him.
Tony Stark dies from his injuries, and it's such a fitting end to his character, harking back to this scene in the first Avengers movie.
You're not the guy to make the sacrifice play, to lay down on a wire and let the other guy crawl over you.
I think I would just cut the wire.
Except here, he doesn't look for a way out. He lays on the wire, he gives his life for everybody. It's heartbreaking but so right for his character. The Infinity Saga started with him, and it clearly should have ended with him. After we are shown everybody back home, reunited with the people they lost, we move on to Tony Stark's funeral, and the Russo brothers just let the scene play with all the remaining Avengers, even the people Tony had encountered, like the kid from Iron Man 3. They're all there. It's beautiful, poignant, with Real Hero by Alan Silvestri complementing the scene. There's even a couple of callbacks that really hit the feels.
You know, your dad liked cheeseburgers.
We catch up with our characters, with Thor leaving New Asgard to fuck off with the Guardians, which I really hated. Seriously, this guy spent 5 years feeling sorry for himself. He's not even going to make up for his lack of leadership for his own people.
Fuck off! Fucking dick!
But we do get a satisfying end for our Cap, as he takes the stones back to where they were found, only to not come through the time portal. But he is discovered on a bench as an old man. He reveals he decided to live an ordinary life before passing the shield over to Falcon. We cut to a flashback, and we see Captain America with Peggy, played by busty lovely Hayley Atwell, finally having that dance.
I'm not crying, you're crying!
Talk about giving a dignified ending to a great character. He can finally go home, relive his life again with the woman he loves. As soon as this ended, The last thing I wanted was more, especially after the epicness of the final act. Yeah, the movie as a whole sagged a lot in the middle and ruined a couple of characters, but the third act gave us the perfect ending these characters deserve. Although I still would have been happy with the nihilistic ending of Infinity War, this was still a satisfying way to close the book on characters that had evolved and were part of our lives for 11 years. So overall, while there are moments that hinted at the disastrous woke direction the franchise would later double down on, this was still a well-earned, epic payoff. A satisfying endgame to end all endgames. So that was Avengers Endgame, and the end of our look back at the MCU's Infinity Saga. Wait, what? This isn't even the last one? Are you serious? It doesn't make any sense. No more now. It ended here. Fuck's sake. Okay, next up, Spider-Man Far From Home.
Well, for some reason, the powers that be at Marvel didn't seem to think Endgame with that epic final was the best place to end the Infinity Saga. So, since this apparently is the final chapter in the Infinity Saga, I have no choice but to plough through this harder than Harvey Weinstein did with a younger, upcoming Jennifer Lawrence.
Nice!
So let's dive into Spider-Man Far From Home. Released in July 2019, Spider-Man Far From Home continues after the end of Endgame, where half the school at Peter Parker's high school, including Peter Parker himself, played by Tom Holland, have been brought back to life after 5 years of being dust, yet still have to finish their term, leading to much confusion.
Makes sense to me.
Peter has, for some reason, decided that shovel-faced MJ, played by personality vacuum Zendaya, is the woman of his dreams. And decides to take a break from superheroing and use his school trip abroad with his classmates as a way to win her over. Unfortunately, some elemental beings are being total cock-blockers, causing chaos. That is until a mysterious superhero named Mysterio, imaginative, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, pops up, as well as Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson, asking for his help. But is Mysterio all that he seems? Spider-Man Far From Home is nothing great, but still fun. Tom Holland is still likeable and charming as Peter Parker, and he still has great chemistry with Jacob Batalon as Ned, and Jake Gyllenhaal, who does have mad charisma as Mysterio. And I do like how much more needed depth is given to Peter Parker. I mean, this is a character that has just been brought back from the dead, has seen someone he considered a father figure die, and is trying to come to terms with his loss, his trauma, and is very unsure if he is strong enough to follow in the footsteps of Stark. And Tom Holland really sells it. I even love the crazy images Mysterio projects on Parker, making you feel as helpless and disoriented as he is. And I like the dynamic between Mysterio and Parker in the early scenes before that big reveal. The action is still fun and exciting, and even Zendaya actually improves as MJ here once she loses the autistic, too cool for school attitude and behaves like an actual human being. But sadly, Jake Gyllenhaal becomes less interesting after he is revealed to be the villain, especially due to a weak motivation.
He renamed my life's work Barf. I told him it was a mistake, that my technology could change the world.
And decides to seek revenge by faking being a superhero so he can be regarded as the
greatest hero on Earth!
Yeah! Where did they come up with this stuff?
Wouldn't that make more sense to just be a superhero, especially since the tech he's using could be useful as a tactical advantage to get the drop on his enemies? Did he really think he would never get found out? And it's a shame, because as charming as Gyllenhaal is in the role, he lacks the same screen presence as Michael Keaton did as the Vulture. Fuck it, Vulture was the better villain, because we got why he did what he did. He was just a guy trying to keep a roof over his family's head. and there's a lot of scenes that really serve no purpose and could have been cut out in order to help with the pacing. Also, while it is fun, it feels more like an epilogue to Endgame, except it goes on way too long. I mean, honestly, it should have either ended at Infinity War to avoid the shit that would follow after, or end on Endgame since it wrapped up 11 years worth of movies. So overall, it's a passable couple of hours of a film that's sadly caught in the web of a company that will milk this franchise for all it's worth. So that was Spider-Man Far From Home and the end of the Infinity Saga, and man, it is still a fun series of movies that I was more than happy to revisit. Yeah, there were setbacks and some cringe, but for a while, we had something special. From 2008 to 2019, anytime a movie with the name Marvel attached to it was advertised, we had something to look forward to. From humble beginnings to an epic final. It took characters people outside of comic book fandom were unaware of and made them household names. It was a series that showed comic book characters could be comic book characters, a far cry from the gimpy leather-clad S&M gear from the early 2000s. It also took characters that were deemed too goofy, but showed they could be taken seriously and made them relatable. It was 11 years of funny, exciting, and even surprisingly emotional moments, with a lot of heart put into it by people who believed in heroes, and also showed us that no matter how hard life can beat you, strength, hope, bravery, empathy, kindness, and understanding will always prevail. And whether you beautiful bastards are Northern English or not, thanks for watching, and do remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that bell in order to be notified. And if you wish to further support this channel, then the links are in the description below. But before I fuck off to the pub, I'll leave you with the very man who without him, none of this would have been possible. The late, great Stan Lee. Rest in peace, you beautiful bastard.